are the major criticisms of the theory of structuralism as propounded by Levi-Strauss? What is the major criticism of the theory of structuralism as propounded by Levi-Strauss? Okay. So this is a comprehensive question. It's asking what is it and criticism. So definitely you have to say what is it. But before this, let me ask you, did we discuss anybody who used Levi-Strauss structuralism till now?
Yes, sir. Dumont.
Who is that?
Dumont.
Dumont. Wow. Tell me how Dumont, explain Dumont's theory in terms of Levi-Strauss structuralism.
Categorizing certain, seeing occupations in terms of pure and impure.
Seeing operations in terms of pure and impure.
And then, as a result, caste system has come.
And then?
Caste system is arranged in hierarchy. Castes are arranged in hierarchy.
So one can think in terms of pure and impure. What is structuralism about it?
The inherent mind, we think that certain occupations are pure and impure. And
okay, but then in other societies, pure and impure are not thought of. You mean to say the mind has that pure and impure ideas?
Yes, mind, according to, that is how we can explain Dumont's theory from structuralism point of view. As a mediator, the caste system has come as a means of resolving.
Any idea?
Sir,
what is this structuralism? What does Dumont want to say? Are you convinced that? Do you also think that Dumont was trying structuralism?
Sir, yes, sir. He said about pure and impure, and Jajmani system is a way of mediation, binary opposition, and the mediation was Jajmani system.
Wow. But what is this pure and impure? Where are they?
That is in the mind. Structures of mind.
Okay. Structures of mind. So you mean to say within the mind there are structures?
That's what Levi-Strauss said.
That is what Levi-Strauss said. And that is what?
Dumont also said.
So the point is, most people do not know, but my book makes it very, very clear. I understood it from Marvin Harris. That the structures are in mind. That is the first point. Structures are in mind. Some kind of grooves like this, some kind of grooves. The structures are in mind. That is the first point. Where is Radcliffe-Brown's structure? Can Radcliffe-Brown's structure be seen outside?
It is kind of related, but not exactly that.
Like, for example, can part of Radcliffe-Brown's structure be touched?
Yes.
How?
Institutions.
How can you touch any institution?
Okay. Okay, fine. I cannot.
Structure consists of groups of people. You can touch a person, kin groups, castes, classes. That is Radcliffe-Brown's social structure. So Radcliffe-Brown's structure is grouping. Classes, castes, families, groups. You can touch a member of a group. But Levi-Strauss structures cannot be touched. They're inside the mind, inside the brain. Maybe if doctors open up, they will see. So maybe through surgical operation, Levi-Strauss structures can be opened up. So Levi-Strauss structures are in the mind. Okay. That is the first point, unlike Radcliffe-Brown structures. But then Levi-Strauss is also saying, how do structures operate? Structures operate in terms of opposites. Thinking in terms of pure and impure is one way of thinking. We versus them, India versus Pakistan. Definitely, when we think of India versus Pakistan, definitely that is, that is natural, isn't it so? We versus them, I think it's foundational. We versus them, I versus me. But Levi-Strauss thought that we are thinking like that because there are structures inside. I don't know why he needs to say there are structures. We think in terms of we versus them. We think in terms of I versus you. Why do you have to think in terms of structures? Okay. So all opposites, for example, nature versus nurture. So we, them, pure, impure, nature versus nurture. Okay. So there are structures inside. So Dumont thought Indians think in terms of pure and impure. So why should only Indians? That he won't answer. But people think in terms of contrast, and Indians somehow thought in terms of pure and impure, which means the structures are universal. These kind of structures are universal. Universal. This is universal. But content, cultural. Content is cultural. Pure and impure is what only Indians thought. But we versus them is universal. Okay. So, mind thinks in terms of these oppositions, contrasts. And then culture can be explained in terms of the structures in the mind. That is what is called structuralism. So culture can be explained in terms of the structures of the mind is what is called structuralism. Okay. So everything is thought in terms of oppositions and something to do with oppositions. We, them is one opposition. Nature, nurture is one opposition. Then Levi-Strauss thought of cooking. Cooking, he looked at cooking in terms of cooking. There is a boiling and roasting. So he thought boiling and roasting is one opposition. Nature and nurture is another opposition. Us and them is another opposition. Okay. Tell me, between boiling and roasting, which is closer to nature and which is closer to nurture? Nurture means culture. Boiling and roasting, which requires more of culture? You don't have any idea of roasting. What is roasting?
So directly over the fire.
Exactly. Direct application of heat is roasting. But boiling?
In the vessel.
In the water. So which is more advanced form of cooking?
In the water.
Boiling. So which is closer to nature?
Roasting.
Roasting. So boiling and roasting, one opposition. Nature versus nurture or culture is another opposition. We versus them is another opposition. So he thought, when guests come, people give roasted food. How? Whereas to our own people, boiled food will be given. What is the connection? We. Guest is, okay, our own people. We means our own people. Our own people close to us. Kin group. So finally, what kind of things can be said? You can't reason. You have to think about how he reasoned.
Sir, you're asking a question. What is the question, sir? Repeat the question once.
See, boiling and roasting is one opposition. We versus them is another opposition. Nature versus culture is another opposition. Okay. In a way, these oppositions match what kind of food we will serve to our own people and to the guests or to the guests.
To guess, we will be serving roasted thing. Our own people will be serving.
Guests will be serving roasted.
According to him, sir. But in contemporary thing, we will give good things to guests.
Okay.
Contemporarily,
So
all
guests,
good.
according to him, guests will be served roasted food. Why guest is an outsider, roasting also is outside, is distant. Whereas to the close people, boiled. Okay. So people were shocked. What kind of analysis is this? Then it may be difficult to, because in contemporary society we do all kinds of things. But then Levi-Strauss made one prediction. He said that there are many cannibalistic societies, people who kill others to eat. And so there are societies where one's own members are killed, and there are societies where outsiders are killed. So he thought when outsiders are being killed, they will be roasted. Whereas when one's own people are killed, one's own society members are killed, they'll be boiled. So because he made a prediction, somebody thought, okay, we don't know about the structures, let us analyze what are the cooking practices of the cannibals, because that can be analyzed. And he found there is no such correlation. In fact, there are variety ways of preparing food, including baking and all kinds of things. So which means in an extremely primitive arrangement also, one cannot say roasting and outsider and them and we and boiling and insider. No such matching is taking place. So basically he's saying there are some structures here and match it like this. This is how culture is generated. So this is one simple way of looking at Levi-Strauss structuralism. What it says and whether it is right or wrong and what is the proof. That's all.
So to even hear it, it sounds very silly.
Exactly. Even in theoretically, it sounds silly. So people now wonder how Levi-Strauss became popular at all. Why did people take this seriously? My explanation is that people didn't pay much attention to this part. He said so many things as a way of explaining and things like that, and that is an insightful account. You may do a lot of description, you may arrange facts, and yet, though the central theory is wrong, for example, wasn't Dumont's analytical way of looking at the caste? Why are we reading? To know how he is wrong, isn't it? In fact, that is one way of evaluating theory. Theory need not be right. If it can make you think, that's a good theory.
Levi-Strauss feels like Ram Gopal Verma.
Okay, yes, some crazy idea. So Levi-Strauss, he put a lot of empirical data and then did all kinds of things. For example, he made us think about what is cannibalism practices, cooking practices, what are the links. He made us think. Like Dumont also, what is pure and impure? There is no exploitation, that, this, and hierarchy is nothing but a relationship of the part with the whole. These are completely unusual. And then if they are coming from economic and political power, why are they not giving the highest status? That is a very serious question. Why the Brahmins, why the Kshatriyas allowed Brahmins to get the highest status? So which means Dumont is making us think. We know he is wrong somewhere, but then how? We have to find out. So one way of evaluating theory is its productivity. Productivity. Also fecundity, also called fecundity. That is giving rise to new theories, giving rise to new lines of research. That is what Levi-Strauss structuralism is. Levi-Strauss structuralism covered briefly in Rise of Anthropological Theory, because Rise of Anthropological Theory is completed in 1968, and later Marvin Harris wrote Cultural Materialism. In Cultural Materialism, published in 1980, he devotes one chapter to Levi-Strauss theory. I understood Levi-Strauss theory from Marvin Harris' Cultural Materialism book. You can take any Anthro thought book, any Anthro book, whether author has understood anything of Levi-Strauss. Very different. I understood from cultural materialism, by the way. Okay. So they may say, author may say they are mental structures, but they don't exactly know why, what is all this. In fact, Noam Chomsky thinks many unnecessary theories came after the fall of Marxism, after the delegitimization of Marxism. Marxists explained everything, and then when Marxism was found to be inadequate, all kinds of theories came, and one of it is structuralism, which contributed to more confusion and no clarity. People are trying to figure out if Marxism is false, what should be an alternative way to look at things. So structuralism is one such. That there are structures in the mind.
Sir, I have a question. I don't know all about the structures in mind, but we do think in terms of oppositions, no, sir. Human beings generally think.
Why do we need structures for that? Because we are concerned about ourselves. I is central. When I is central, we also is central. So I becomes we. That is a self-protective system.
Sir, my means something inherently is guiding us
That
to
is true,
think.
inherently guiding, but it is not because of the structures in the mind.
Maybe he was
Self
crude,
is
crude
inherent.
in his. He
Self
was.
self is inherent.
Yes, sir, but that time he might not
Not
have.
that time. He was in 1960s and 70s. Self is inherent. We are selfish, and people have discussed, debated selfishness long ago.
Maybe he explained it in crude thing with no
The
refinement.
explanation in terms of structures is wrong. Why do you need structures to know that we think we about us? We are selfish. There is group consciousness. There are classes and castes, and we is central to us. We don't need to think of structure there. And then nobody thought of this arrangement, right? We and so nature and so roasting. What kind of connections are this? It doesn't make sense.
I'm telling that his explanations are silly, but the assumption that
If
we think
anything
in
is obvious,
oppositions.
if anything is obvious in this work, you don't need structure to explain the obvious. You don't need the structure. And let me tell you, one more way of judging a theory is how parsimonious it is. Parsimony means how brief, parsimonious. With limited number of concepts, you should say. You don't need structures at all. For example, I say it's not, Levi-Strauss is not right. There are not only structures here, but there are three structures here. 1, 2, 3, like this. One opposition goes to this, another opposition goes to this, another opposition goes to this, and there is a resolution takes place. What sense does it convey? And if I'm an American professor, I write something and then everywhere people world over read that. What did this man think about these three? Can you explain without these three? You can, so drop it. That's what theory building is. So why do you need structures?
Sir, my understanding is that right now the way we are talking about self, he tried to reason out why self is there, and that's why it
He
took
did
help.
not do that. Linking it to self is we are saying that self is obvious, and from self these things come, but he didn't pursue self.
He didn't pursue self, but
He did.
he in his theory, I feel that he was
But
in
we
some way.
versus them is something different from roasting and cooking, boiling, and it's different from nature versus culture. There are oppositions everywhere, but he's thinking of matching all of them or uh,
That is silly, sir. That is outrightly silly. But maybe
we
he.
versus them is foundational to our existence.
And that could be because we think in a certain way, kind of.
We think in a certain way, but why do you think there are? It's because of certain things here.
Maybe if it was in 1600s, it would have been acceptable, kind of.
69.
If
No,
had
we
he proposed this theory in 16th century or 15th, it would
not
have been.
16th century. No, no, no. Self was there much, much before. I don't know. Neanderthals would have agreed.
Sir,
Maybe he might have drawn a painting in a cave that this weave thinking is coming from something inside. Wow. We versus them don't require structures in the mind. That is the way we work. Hmm. That is why Marvin Harris thinks, I mean, his first book is Rise of Anthropological Theory. He made a comment on the later day theories. He said, this is not rise of anthropological theory, but fall of anthropological theory. Structuralism is one such fall of anthropological theory. It is not an improvement, it is fall. He thought these are unscientific.
So
Okay.
in biology, there is parts of brain like cerebrum, cerebellum, and all the kind of thinking it happens. Maybe he was the right side of the body controls left
No,
side of.
no, all those things, but there are no structures like this. There is nothing like we anywhere. There were no
Okay.
opposites.
He's saying that there are structures like we versus them.
Yes, he was thinking, but there is no evidence. And more importantly, one more thing is that you need to say you need to explain what is the need to posit the structures. What is the need? It should explain something, it should. And anyway, for example, Edmund Leach. Edmund Leach is a student of Levi-Strauss, applied structuralism. You know what he thought? For example, traffic signals. Traffic signals, you have green and red. Green go, red stop. So there is a spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum. He thought within the brain there is a spectrum like this. And green, one, red. So I go and stop, opposites. And then there is a spectrum. And so G and R. And then something in between, another color. Violet or some other color. So he thought the entire traffic signal system all over the world developed because of the spectrum also already inside. Then scientists, other people have found out that in fact this signal system varied from time to time, culture to culture, and then the signal system can be explained in terms of illumination technology, glass technology, and color technology, and nothing to do with the spectrum. It was wrong. So the idea that that spectrum is there inside our brain, and then we chose two parts of the spectrum to stop and go, and then something in between. That's why Marvin Harris in the end says the the structures of structuralism are there only in Levi-Strauss brain, and it's not there anywhere. It's very clear evidence. There are no such structures. Okay, that's all. Take next question. Okay, this is how does concepts of binary opposites and exchange figure in Levi-Strauss structural analysis of kinship? How does the concepts of binary opposites and exchange figure in Levi-Strauss analysis of analysis of kinship. So this is about kinship. So how did he look at kinship? Central to kinship is marriage. Marriage. Levi-Strauss explained how is mate selected in a marriage. Okay, people think in terms of us versus them. And some connection has to be placed between us and them. The same gift. And gift here is woman. So, mate selection is determined by sharing of gift. And woman is the gift. It means marriage is nothing but exchange of females. Why should females be exchanged? It is us versus them connection. But why should one need to think of like this? One can simply say you can't family within a nuclear, you can't marry within a nuclear family because of incest. And so you go out, childhood familiarity or other things. And then he explained so many structures, matrilineal, patrilineal, all kinds of things, matrilateral, patrilateral, in terms of gift. Okay, so he said that people would like to, how do these gifts contribute? For example, us versus them as a gift, then us versus them become one. So how do various groups become one? Example, group is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 are there. So how can you connect 4 groups with gifting process? Suppose women are exchanged. Okay, put them A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. If women are exchanged like this. So tell me which contributes to more connections? This one or the second one? First one or second one? First one or second one?
Second.
Second.
Huh?
Second.
Second one. Why is it so?
Because it is between.
It is involving all groups in a closed.
All groups.
Okay. Now you know about North Indian and South Indian kinship system. Can you tell me which is closer to North India, which is closer to South India?
First thing is closer to South India.
Exactly. This is South India. This is North India. What is Irawati's reason for North Indian kinship like this?
Economy.
Economy. Which economy?
Pastoral economy.
Pastoralism. So pastoralism required nomadic movement, nomadism, and it also required connections across various groups. So they went for marriage like this. So Irawati Karve explained 4-clan rule and various kinds of restrictions in terms of pastoralism. Pastoralism required alliance making across huge distances. Alliance making across huge distances. There was no such need, and this is different. Okay. So how was she explaining pastoralism North India? No such need in South India. In fact, women are more important in South India. Marvin Harris also gave a study that why in South India women took part in rice cultivation, and that is why women are better off. So basically, one is explaining in terms of material needs, techno-economic factors, kinship system. But what Levi-Strauss did was explain in terms of cycles like this. Cycles. He said if larger cycles, then it serves better. Larger cycles, it serves better. So let me tell you, in terms of larger cycles, north, south, center, north, south, and center. Tell me where are large circles formed?
Not.
Shortest, yeah. Central, in between. Why so in central, in between? What is followed in central? Matrilateral cross cousin followed, but not patrilateral. Whereas here, matri and patri. So in fact, how did we explain all this? We explained it in terms of patriarchy. Here there is maximum domination, less domination, least domination. And domination can be explained in terms of contribution to economy. So the point is, take economy as an important consideration, gender roles, patriarchy, authority system, and what kind of kinship rules create these kind of authority systems. I mean, that's what we did. What Levi-Strauss did was cycles. When you can, a longer cycle would mean more unity. Longer cycle would be preferred. That's what he explained. But the problem with this explanation is that even if longer cycle is needed at some place, why do you have to explain in terms of structures? Longer cycle is needed for a different reason, pastoralism. For coherence. You can explain why there need to be a coherence. You can explain in terms of pastoralism, or you can explain anything. You can explain in terms of why those groups needed to be united. So to explain why the groups need to be united, you don't need structures. So the point is, even if he explains that this marriage rule is because of greater coherence, even if one proves it is contributing to greater coherence, you don't need structures for that. Is my point clear? Marvin Harris did not make use of Irawati Karve, anything like that. He gave different examples. I thought because we anyway do Irawati Karve, I gave Irawati Karve example. So that is to say, even if Levi-Strauss wants to say matri is more frequent than patri, explain in terms of more coherence and less coherence. He won't need structures for that. Which means you can explain kinship, but you don't need structures to explain kinship, mental structures to explain kinship. So even if he is right till the last point, he's bound to be wrong when he explains in terms of structures, because they're not needed. But Marvin Harris goes about in some case where long structures are created or short structures are created, whether he is right or wrong. But I feel it is not necessary. You can explain long structures are created and long structures or long cycles are created and long cycles contribute to coherence. But even after explaining that, you don't need mental structures for that. So, which means that we just don't need this concept of mental structures at all. And then how can we think of marriage as an exchange and as a gift? Why can't sharing a woman be an alternative if it is simply a kind of a opposition resolution? That is even more, that is a different questioning altogether. So essentially, even if Levi-Strauss explains that this is what it is, in the last phase of the explanation, in terms of structures, is bound to be wrong. Okay, so that is what kinship. Vishal, you're saying something?
No, sir.
So, how does the concept of binary opposites and exchange figure in Levi-Strauss structuralism? How did Radcliffe-Brown and Levi-Strauss study kinship in terms of social structure? We discussed Levi-Strauss. How did Radcliffe-Brown study? Radcliffe-Brown studied how they contribute to the stability of the structure. How structure is maintained. How structure is maintained. There are no mental structures at all in Radcliffe-Brown's study. So something like joking behavior. Joking behavior contributes to maintenance of patrilineage. You can go through this. I will discuss this later. Maybe we can do it differently, but I'll explain this. We'll take his example later. But essentially, Radcliffe-Brown's theory is that a cultural trait contributes to the stability of the social structure. Avoidance, joking behavior, mate selection. Social structure is about group relationship, and rules contribute to the social structure. Joking behavior contributes. Avoidance contributes. So how is the structure maintained? So that's what Radcliffe-Brown thought of. Okay. Whereas Levi-Strauss thought in terms of how the structure is produced because of mental structures. So linking external culture external cultural practices with the things inside is what Levi-Strauss structuralism is. You can very clearly take the stand that there is simply no proof for that. Okay.
Sir, Lewis also linked with psychic unity at somewhere.
That is true. Why is it so? Because he was thinking that all human brains work in the same way, in that sense. In that sense. So he thought uh, content in that mold is different, depends on the culture. But those molds and patterns of thinking are the same. Thinking in terms of opposites, trying to do something about the opposites is universal. But it so happened that in India, people thought in terms of pure and impure. It's like that. So, in that sense, there is universality in the way humans think. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So, is it clear? So, hugely simplified, you just write the way we discussed. Very, very simple. And draw diagrams, and I simplified further. I gave only few examples. And then I used the knowledge you are familiar with in other areas. So you can use Irawati Karve to critique Levi-Strauss theory. Okay. And that way you covered Edmund Leach also. That's all, nothing more. So